Well, everyone, like I said, I'm so happy to see you joining us today in our class about leases. Thank you so much, Karen, for inviting me.
You are welcome. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it, and everybody else does too.
No problem. It's my pleasure. And I would like to, first of all, say something about leases. You're going to hear a lot of agents that says, leases are so complicated. They're a waste of time. But you have to see it from the perspective, first of all, that's a family that you're helping. Especially if you're representing the tenants, you don't know how many families are begging for an agent to represent them and to help them find a home. So that's the first thing you have to think about it. And the other thing is, like, if you follow up and you keep in touch with those tenants, they will become buyers. It's just they need you to guide them through the whole process and teach them what to do. You're gonna keep in contact. You're gonna give them information about lenders, and at some point they will be ready to buy. So that's the two things I always think about leases. So from this class, I would like to go, if you pass to the next one, Karen, I would like to start from the tenant's perspective. So the next slide, when you get the call from somebody that wants to lease the house, of course, the first thing you're going to ask them is how soon you want to be in your new home. How soon you need to be in your new home. Are you in an apartment complex? Where are you now? Are you moving from another city? Because I have faced a lot of tenants that they are coming from other states. So that's very important to know if they're going to be brand new people here in Katy, Houston area, or they already live here. So how soon you want to move in. The next questions, of course, is, how many bedrooms, bathrooms do you need? But also, how many 18 years or older are part of the household? And I normally, because people think that the only ones that should be filling out the applications are the ones that are gonna have any kind of income to bring to the table when the time comes to pay the rent. And that's not true. Every 18 years or older should apply. It doesn't matter if it comes with an income or not. Okay, so that's when I bring the form, the TAR application form, that I always make them filled out, and they are the one that should be filling that out. That's my advice to you guys. If they don't have a printer, because sometimes there's people that it's living in a hotel, but if you make the ways to give them the TAR application. If Karen, you could help me opening the form to make them familiar with the application form. Mm-hmm. So what happened in the TAR application form, they're gonna fill out very sensible information. What I ask them is leave the property address in blank, and then
all of this, that's a very wise.
Yes, because we still don't know where are they moving in. We don't know the house they want, but you need all the information ready in case something they like it's coming available, and you can send the application right away. So leave the first paragraph in blank, but the rest, please ask them to fill it out completely, including one page that authorizes the listing broker or the landlord, the prospect landlord, to ask for information and verify employment, that kind of things. And if I'm not mistaken,
down here, I'm going to scroll down to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right here.
That one, the authorization to release information related to a residential lease applicant. That's very, very important. And even if you are on the other side, a lot of people, they just fill out the application and they don't sign this. This is very, very important. I remember in a class with Lloyd, he says that this one should be included because you should not be calling landlords or anyone asking for recommendations if you don't have this form signed by them. So please make sure and ask them to fill it out completely as their best knowledge. The first part, of course, is their basic information, name. Yes, let's go there. So the first one is their information, that they should be aware of all that. But if you scroll down, you're gonna see where their current address, who is their landlord. They must provide this information. The best way to contact them, a phone number, an email address, all that information should be filled out. Okay.
And you notice they also is a previous address besides where they're living now.
Exactly.
So one more.
Yes. So pretty much they should fill out all the information. Even if they are selling their house, let's say they're selling their house, they should include that information and say homeowners, they're selling their house, that's where they're living. So please ask them to fill every line over there. Okay. The cars they own, if they have pets, the next one, if they have pets, and make sure if they have pets, they include a picture of their pets so you have it on file, because the landlord, the listing broker will be asking for it. So they should.
Good idea. I never thought of that. Great idea.
That's I asked them, please send me a picture of your pet. Okay. And make sure they know every animal that lives with them, it's a pet. You know, a hamster, a snake, a turtle, because sometimes they think that if it's just a dog or a cat, and they don't tell you if they have a snake. And it happens.
Oh.
I'm talking about personal experience. So please ask them, do you have any kind of pets, any animals? Please, you have to fill this out. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you give them the TAR application, after that, you're gonna explain them. My advice is explain them that their credit, criminal background, and evictions will be checked by the prospect landlord. So in this matter, you have to tell them, hey, it's strictly confidential between the two of us, but they have to tell you the truth. How is your credit? And this is the time, and it's very important, because for some people, they tell you, no, my credit is 700, is 650. And then when the credit report comes out, it's in the 500s. So you need to explain them, hey, you need to tell me now so I could better represent you. I'm going to filter the properties that are, willing to list you a house, because the standard, it should be something around 620, 600. Not any, the landlords are very picky these days. They don't like to rent houses in 500s. So you need to know that in advance with them. If their credit score, it's not at least in 620. What do you think about that, Karen?
It is going to be tough if it's not, that's for sure. And often there are things, and I know you'll probably talk about this later, that you can do to maybe help if their credit score is not at where it should be. But we'll talk about that later.
Exactly. Okay, so they're gonna run their credit, the criminal, and an eviction. So, and when we talk about the criminal, same thing. They have to be very sincere, very honest with you if they know they have something in their record, because landlords are sometimes they're open like, I don't know, you have a DUI when you were 19 years old or something like that. But if it's a sexual harassment or some kind of violence, that's going to be hard to find for them. So they have to tell you. That's going to save you time, that's going to save you gas, and expectations, setting expectations for them.
You
okay
bet.
And if they have been evicted, and if that happened in the past, it's better if they go ahead and tell you. From my experience, sometimes even a letter wrote by them, not you, and write a letter if there was an eviction, I don't know, 3 years ago, and was a very specific condition and it never happened again. If they tell you in advance, I have seen landlords that they understand that sometimes this kind of situation happens, but they have to tell you that since day one. Okay.
And so much of this is relationship building, because you want them to feel free to tell you so much about their lives. But you have to know it, because guess what? It is going to be found out anyway. And so the more you know ahead of time, the better it will be for everyone.
Exactly. The better, the more comfortable they feel with you, and make them understand we're not here to judge them, we're here to help them. So the best way that they could help you help them is telling you the truth, and that way you could guide them what's the best option. Sometimes at some point I have told clients that you better go with an apartment complex if it's a situation like the ones that we have been dealing with. Sometimes apartment complex are the best option for some families. So but you have to know that in advance.
You bet.
Okay, so so we talk about if they have pets, which kind of pets, that kind of situation, then they have to let you know. So if we go back to, does anyone have any kind of question with the form, or are we gonna do a Q&A at the end, Karen?
It's up to you. We can do either one.
Okay, does anyone have a question about the form? No?
Oh, one thing too, I don't know, it shows on here. The fee down here, it will depend on what house it is, what the fee will be.
Yes. And the standard right now, it's about $40 per person. So I normally tell them that they can include the $40 there, but you never know, because it could change from one house to another. But it's good for them to have an idea how much it's going to cost them, the application. And that application, and they should understand that application we normally use these days. My Smart Move is what, I know there are multiple pages, but that one is the one that I have seen many agents uses, and they pay directly through that website.
Yes.
Okay.
So where you want to go next? PowerPoint?
Yes, please.
Question.
Is it me?
Go
You
ahead.
said that everyone that's 18 years or older, let's say a family has 2 children and they're
And they are?
18, they're both older than application. So then that means they would have to pay a total of $40 times 3, because there's 3.
Yes.
And is there a case where, I guess, the parents are approved but the child isn't, and so I guess if it's a bundle application and then not the whole bundle is approved by the owner?
There are some brokers that they have their personal screening process, that I have seen that, for example, for a couple, they charges $70 per couple, mom and dad, and then $40 per each person 18 years and older. But that's the lowest I have seen lately.
Okay.
I would set them at the expectation for them that it's going to be 40 per person.
Okay.
And
But
it's
have
tough
you
to
seen
think if you have older children still living with you, that that's a drawback or it's going to cost you more. Well, yeah, it is. And they just have to understand that's part of it. And make sure that, because when you think of it, you might not get this house. And that was in that last paragraph. You might not get this house. And so, yes, you've got to make sure that you've done everything you can so that you're not having to pay these out again and again and again.
That's a
Right.
point. You're right, Karen.
Is there a case, for example, where the parents are okay, but because let's say one of the children's they have a couple of DUIs and they're not approved. So what do you do in a case like that? Where only
Unfortunately,
some of them
in that case, and you shouldn't apply. That's it. That's it.
Okay.
Yes.
Sometimes also you can, if ahead of time, two things, if you know that they were convicted of a something or other beforehand, or if they might not quite have 3 times the rent, or any issue that you might have before you go through the whole process. It is also an option. You can give your buyer's agent to call the listing agent and say, I have this situation. Will your landlords work with us? If so, I'll continue the process. And that is always something that you can try to before you spend all the money, and they do too, knowing that that is there. We had a bankruptcy, but it was 6 years ago. Or yes, we were evicted, but I lost my job and I had to go live with grandmother and la da 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 da. So that story, if you can tell it ahead of time, knowing you're going to have that issue come up, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, so if you don't mind to go to the PowerPoint slide, Karen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, y'all can't see it? Okay,
no.
Let me get back to it. All righty. Better?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so we went through the pets point, and then I will explain them about the security deposit and the pet deposit. So the security deposit, I always set the expectation that at least will be 1 month. It could be more than 1 month. It will depend on every criteria, the conditions that we have been talking about, their credit score. So when we were talking about these people that maybe have the 580, there are some landlords that are willing to take that kind of tenant, but instead of 1 month of security deposit, they ask for 2 or 3. It depends how bad is the situation. So that's one thing. The other thing is the pet deposit. So if they have pets, they should know that they will be paying different deposit, that it's the pet deposit. That deposit could be refundable or non-refundable. It will depend on the landlord. In some cases, landlords even charge a special cleaning service just because of the pets. So it will change from one property to another, from one landlord to another, but it's good to make them aware of that situation, because they have been cases that unfortunately, if they have I don't know, a relative and they can't pay the pet deposit, they have given out their animals, as sad as it is, but it had happened in the past to me. So it's sad. And I it was really, really sad in that situation. but sometimes the pet deposit could be something between 250 to 400. It depends. And the landlord should approve, because sometimes there are landlords that says that every pet will be allowed, but normally, for example, if it's a Rottweiler, a pit bull, that kind of breeds, those are very, very difficult to be accepted by a landlord. What's your experience, Karen?
Oh, sure enough. Yeah, that's why you need those pictures. I thought those pictures were great. Even if you have and size matters. Even if you have the most wonderful black lab you've ever had in the world, and he's the sweetest thing, but he weighs 100 pounds, the landlord might not want him just because he's so big and sheds. So all of those are definitely up to them.
Exactly. And you should make them aware that they have to be prepared financially for that.
Yes.
And another point that is very important is their income, that it should be 3 times the rent. That's a standard. So they, as a family, for example, in the case that they have, the parents and another, maybe an older son, that it's going to be providing something for the rent. So every penny will count. That's important. Okay.
And make sure, as we're talking about being upfront and honest, make sure your tenants understand that you cannot sneak those doggies in if you didn't tell them about them, because in the lease, you're going to talk about how you're going to have this horrible fine. And I promise they're not going to put $100 on there if you all of a sudden have a pet and you didn't have it in the lease.
Yes, you're so right. That's one paragraph of the lease, and I have seen charges between $500 per day up to 1,000. So they should be aware of that. They shouldn't be hidden. Yeah. Yes, good point. Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Next slide.
So the next slide, if you don't mind. Which documents besides the TAR application you should have in hand? And please, it's pretty much like the pre-approval letter for your buyers. Have all this information before you go and show houses to them.
Say that sentence one more time, just to make sure they get it.
Yes, please collect all these documents before you drive your car and start showing homes for them. Okay. So the TAR application, if they are employees, 3 last pay stubs. Used to be 2. These days I have seen more 3 last pay stubs. So 3 last pay stubs. If the person is coming from another state or another city and they are just brand new in their job, ask them for a letter of employment that shows their income, what the job offer will bring to them. Okay, so get that letter as well. Their valid ID, Texas driver license. It doesn't matter if they're coming from Louisiana, the Louisiana driver license, but that shows a picture of the person. If the person is not employee, it's a self-employed, ask them their tax return, the last year tax return, because they're going to ask for it. And I would say maybe at least 3 bank statements, the last 3 months of their bank statements, and they can cover sensitive information. They can strike out the numbers of the account, but it should show their names over that. Okay. The other thing that I advise you, it's a letter of recommendation from their previous landlord.
Ooh, I like that.
I love this because pretty much the same like the letter of introduction for the family. Same thing if the other landlord is recommending them. In past experiences, I have had people that have gone through a lot financially, but they have been great tenants. and the landlords have accepted their application because of the good words that the previous landlord is putting for them. So it helps a lot tremendously. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just, they could ask their landlord a quick email, a letter that says if they pay on time, if they have any kind of issue with them. Sometimes maybe they show why they are moving. For example, one time I got one that says they're just moving because I gave them the first option to buy my house, and they can't afford it, but I need to sell. So that kind of things speaks loud about the tenant. And you already said the photo of the pet. So you collect all those documents, you create the file, and then it's when you go out and show them houses. And when I'm talking about show them houses, set expectations about how fast the rental market moves here in the area. That house, it's going to be their home, but they're not buying it. So I always tell them, please, especially those cases when sometimes the people that has more issues are the pickiest ones. You have to, to get them where they should be. We shouldn't be showing them 15 houses, guys. I tell my tenants clients, I will show you up to 5 houses, no more than 5. Because at that point you're just reaching, it's not going to be any profit for you. And that's true. The market here, houses, well, right now it's crazy, but even before all the COVID thing, it has been crazy in this area. So don't expect people that go to the house. I have seen, and then, okay, let me think about it. Yeah, I'm going to let you think about it, but you're going to tell me tomorrow. Okay. And if they start, being so picky, then I just fire them as my client.
Both of those last 2 sentences are tough for some of you, but they're very important. Yes, you set expectations because as a realtor, 1, these houses aren't going to be there long. And 2, if they're not willing to get these documents together, that should show there's a red flag for some reason. It does take a little while to get all this information on an application. Yes, I understand that. And to get all your documents together, they need to scan it and get it to you instead of in a shoebox or anything. So yes, they're going to have to do some work, but do that ahead of time, get it done. And you, by that, know whether they're serious or not, whether they've got the money or not, and whether they're going to call their previous landlord to get a letter of recommendation. You might not have that immediately, but hopefully you will soon. And then you have to, as a realtor, say, it won't help us to see 10 houses. They're all basically, what they're going to look like from HAR in the pictures. Some will look better than others. The top ones are the ones we're going to go see, and we're going to decide whether we're going to put an offer in, because if we wait and do this over 2 weekends, you're not going to have a house. So make sure that you do set those, and you be the professional yet. You be as firm as you can, because you want to succeed for them, but they've got to do their stuff too.
Exactly. Great. And another point that I forgot when I do the consultation is about the appliances. For some people, they need washer, dryer, and refrigerator. And you should know when you do the search for the properties and make sure, the house will have them or not. Okay. And if at the end, the house they really, really like doesn't have it, are you willing to, after we sign the lease, you go and find some appliances for you? But that's another point that is very important for tenants.
You bet.
Okay, so if you move to the next slide, please, Karen. Any questions?
I have a question real quick.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to like co-signers, so right now I'm kind of dealing with a student that's in college and her father's going to co-sign. Would everything be the same except we just use his information? Her property.
That would think they'd both be on everything. Everybody has to have an application. Everybody, both of them are on the documents, I would think.
Exactly. The dad should send you the application, and you're gonna run the credit and everything for the dad and for the son.
Okay.
I have
Thank
a
you.
question about the difference between a tenant who you have to recommend that they look at an apartment complex versus a house. Where are there any really ironclad determining factors, or is this, what would I hear from them that would be a red flag of, oh, we're not going to get you into a house?
For example, if they filed bankruptcy like 6 months ago, in my experience, it's very hard to find a land, or if their income hasn't been stable at all. If they are not, if they can't prove, if they don't have evidence of a steady income, it's very hard to rent a house. So it's better for them, or if they are brand new in the country. For example, I'm from Venezuela. So unfortunately, I would say, well, it's a blessing that a lot of people are having the chance to start new in this beautiful country. But I have seen a lot of people coming from there that they have no credit history here in the United States. So I always tell them, hey guys, it's better for you to go to an apartment complex.
Okay.
And they can get some good rental history that way, get more steady on their job and their income coming in. And then you're keeping up with them, because next year you'll put them in a lease, and the next year you're going to help them buy a house.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay, so the next slide, if we don't have more questions, will be the landlord consultation. So I'm trying to wrap up from the tenant side, and I'm trying to move a little bit to the landlord. Is everybody okay with that? Good?
Sure.
Okay, so what's the landlord consultation? Pretty much all of the landlords that I work with have been people that they bought the investment property with me, and then I list the house. So I go with my role and responsibility as a listing agent for a landlord. That's the first thing I do. And I forgot totally to include that point, because I don't do property management. I don't think anyone here does it.
We cannot.
Exactly. So it's very important to set the expectation with the landlord. So I'm going to find you the tenant. I'm going to market the property. We're going to do the screening, etc. But then after we sign the lease, it's all yours. If you need somebody that is going to handle repairs, that needs to help you with the payments, evictions, that kind of things, I don't do that. I could, very happy to refer you a couple of companies that you can call them later on and make sure they take care after we sign the lease. So that's the first thing I want to tell you, because a lot of landlords, they expect you to list the house and then deal with the repairs, and we don't do that. Everybody?
Yeah, folks, if you don't know, property management is a whole nother side of real estate. There are trainings, there's classes, there's everything for it, because you're talking about getting that money. And if you looked every month, and we just got it last week, your Trek Realtor magazine, and it's going to talk about who got fined last month. Most of the time it's property management for commingling funds. So folks, we've decided not to do that in this office, because it is so difficult to do right, and you need to know what you're doing. So we do exactly what Leah Bell says. We give the landlord some options of folks to call to let someone else do that for them.
Okay, so that's the first point, and I forgot, my mistake. I'm going to add it here. So then I will go about their tenant selection criteria, because every landlord is different. So you should ask them, okay, how low in terms of credit score are you willing to go? I have had clients in the past that they says, I don't want anyone below 650, or I don't want anyone below 700. Even though you tell them, are you aware that you're, you know, because chances are high that if anyone has more than 700, maybe they're thinking about buying.
Mhm.
But you have to make aware. Are you going to allow pets or not? How old you want, if they have gone through bankruptcy, you know, are you willing to accept if they have been evicted? All this kind of, all the criteria that we have been discussing, you have to ask that to the landlord. And there is a form, and if you have the, in my email, it was there that the Texas Association of Realtor has a model that it's a tenant selection criteria.
Be right with you. Where'd it go? Okay. Oh,
Uh,
where is it?
they're not there.
Now let me.
If you go to
No,
Texas Association
Yeah.
of Realtor,
I found it. Hang on just a second. It's coming up. Okay, but all right, hang on. Let me share one more time.
no problem, Karen.
All righty then. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
we can. Okay, so it's the second page that you see there, where you're going to include the name of the broker, the name of the landlord, and the property.
Oops. Hello. Hang on. I'm trying to, why is it like this and not up? I don't know why it's on 2 pages. Okay. Can you see the second page?
Yes. I
Yeah, it
can.
looks great.
Okay.
Okay, so, and that's pretty much that you're telling the prospect tenant the criteria that the landlord are going to use to choose the tenant. And if they have a specific criteria like the one I said, that, you know, no credit score below 700, I will ask my client to fill out in the very bottom, just, you know, to release your liability. And I upload that on the MLS as a part of the agent only information. Of course, you have the MLS, you have the part that says requirements, and you fill that out, but I upload that form as well, just to protect yourself, guys, because, you know, with the fair housing and that kind of situation, you have to make sure the landlord is letting you know that they don't want this kind of tenant. So,
Man,
okay.
that is so smart, Leah Bell. This is the first time I've ever heard that. That is phenomenal, because that way they know ahead of time and you don't have to get in an argument with them.
No.
You know exactly what they expect as the landlord. Fantastic.
Okie dokie. And thank you, Karen. You're so sweet.
To what?
Okay, so so you said that with this form you go over all the criteria with your landlord client, and then I talk about my smart move, because that's the first question. How are we going to screen the tenant? If it's an experienced landlord, they know about it, but if it's their first investment property, they have a lot of questions. So I show them the website. I personally use my smart move. It's very friendly, and I encourage them to create their account. So if you go through my smart move website and you create your account, you over there can create the property that you're gonna screen. You can send the application directly to the tenant, and you can manage leasing agents. So what I do is for every property I list for lease, I add the landlord as a leasing agent. So
Okay, hold on. This is wonderful information. So you set up an account in My Smart Move and
yes,
add the landlords as part of your account.
yes. So that landlord is associated with that specific property. Okay, they won't have access to all other properties that you list for lease, just that one.
Right.
And that way, when I get the application, what I do is I send the landlord all the documents before sending a link using My Smart Move. I send them all the documents. After they review it, they tell me, okay, go ahead and send the link. I don't like to send the link right away because, it's gonna save the other side some money if since the beginning there is something that it's a red flag for them.
And folks, one thing to think about, what she's talking about is you send a link from My Smart Move to the possible tenants so that they can go on My Smart Move and fill in their information so that the credit gets pulled and the background check gets done. You don't send that until, just like Leah Bell said, she sends all the applications and all that other stuff that they've gotten together to the landlord to review. And the landlord can call the past employers. The landlord can call the last folks that they rented from and do all that ahead of time before they get the link from My Smart Move, which makes them pay for their credit check and their background check.
Yes,
I got a
ma'am.
question. I got a question. So the prospect tenant, they fill the application in My Smart Move, right?
No,
No, they have to fill the regular application then, and after that regular application is reviewed, so we can send the link and make them I'm sorry, and make them to fill the application in My Smart Move. Is that so? It's a double process?
Yes, it's a double process, but with the first one, you're not screening their credit or their criminal. You are just, sending that information to your landlord client. And like Karen said, the landlord will call the previous landlord, will sometimes call the employer, all that kind of information. They verify that. And then what they're going to do is they're going to fill out the application. They're going to give their social security number through the website, and they pay the $40. And then you will receive the credit report, the criminal background check, and the eviction report.
Oh, okay. So in a nutshell, first the application, the regular one. Once they pass the landlord screening, we can send the link. Thank you.
Yeah. I really like this. It sounds like the pre-approval process for a mortgage. Yeah, instead of sending out the appraiser and spending all that money, we're going to make sure there's a pre-qualification done.
exactly.
So you're walking into a deal that you already know is going to be a win-win.
Exactly. It's great. Your symbol, it's fantastic. Same thing. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so then you're going to receive the reports, and the landlords, because you add them as a managing agent, leasing agent, they're going to get those reports as well. So, and it's liability, guys. It's liability. They will review their reports. They will, they will make their decision. And they have a really a click bottom that says accept, decline. They could do that. I don't do that. Okay, that's my advice.
Yes.
I have a question here, please.
Mhm.
Are we allowed by law to do this on the landlord's behalf, that we call the previous landlord, etc., if he requested to do that?
What I do, especially if I have a client that they don't feel comfortable, in the past it had happened to me, they don't feel comfortable speaking English, let's say it that way. So what I do is I ask for the previous landlord an email. I want everything in writing. And I explained that to my landlord's client because I don't want that liability that you call and they tell you by phone that they're great people. And then you tell that to your client, but you don't know if you really spoke with the previous landlord. I don't know. That's just me.
Mhm.
What do you think about it, Karen?
Oh, I think that's very wise. I think Nazar is also wondering though, if the landlord really wants you to call instead,
Mhm.
maybe you can, hopefully there is an email where you can email that landlord, email that employer or that previous landlord instead and send it back to everyone so that again, it's not just by phone, it is in writing.
So what I meant, are we allowed by law to do that or no?
Oh,
So
yes, you are allowed as long as the authorization, remember the application form, I think is the 4th page that we talk about at the beginning. If you, Karen, remember we talked about that page, if you can show him, is the authorization page where they authorize you to do it.
okay.
It's part of the TAR application. The last page is an authorization.
Be right with you.
So that's what gives you the right to do
Right
it. See? The authorization to release information. And
Mhm.
it should be signed. Make sure it's signed by the prospect tenant. Okay?
Okay.
So like it says there, he or she is authorizing you to check with their employer, with their previous landlord. Yes.
But we always prefer to have like a written proof to show the landlord, right?
The what? I'm sorry?
Written proof to show the landlord.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's better everything in writing.
Yep.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
I'm coming.
Okay, so we talk about the My Smart Move process, and in my experience, they feel very comfortable doing that. It's very friendly from the landlord's perspective, and I talk about the deposits and the payments with the landlords. So I'll set, okay, how much. If they are accepting pets, how much are you gonna ask as a pet deposit? If it's gonna be refundable, non-refundable, all what it matters with the money. I go over it. And the payments, how do you want your payments? You want the payments to do via sale, you want them money orders, everything. So when you are representing the landlords, make sure the people gives you the security deposit will be to the landlord, and the first month of rent, and that's, I'm going to skip the one point, and it's the commission. So the landlord is the one paying the commissions for both agent, the landlord, the listing agent, and the tenant's agent. So at the time you sign the lease, the security deposit and the pet deposit are due. Okay, so and that payment should be done to the landlord via cashier check or electronic payment. The landlord should tell you what to do. Okay, so make sure you talk about how is the best way to get the payment for the security deposit and the pet deposit. And the next payment that it's going to be due is the first month of rent that will pay the commission for both agents. And that one should be done via cashier check or money order and should be payable to Keller Williams Premier.
That's right. Throw me a bell. And it doesn't matter what day of the week during the month it is, it's still one full month's rent. Even if they move in on the 15th, I'm sorry, one full month's rent. You do want to get paid, don't you?
Exactly.
Then you'll prorate the next month.
Great point. So let's say we are November 18 and the person would like to move the 20th. The 20th, they have to pay a whole full month of rent, okay? And that will be paying December. That's the payment they are giving you, December, and that pays your commission. And then December 1st, it's going to be prorated from the 20th to the 30th. Those 10 days will be paid December 1st. And that will go through the landlord directly. And you should explain that to the landlord because from since day one.
Well, where's my first month's rent? Well, that's your listing agreement. That's what paid our commissions.
Exactly. Any question about that? Because
Yeah,
believe it was confusing for me.
I have a question.
Mhm.
I have a tenant who is about to sign a lease. The lease was for $3,200 a month. I worked it down for her to $3,000 a month. And then in the MLS, it says that the buyer's comp will be $2,000. So this is my first lease, so I don't know what that means. How much will I get paid then for this lease?
Okay, so in the MLS, it shows that he or she will be paying you a flat rate, 2,000.
Okay, yes.
It doesn't say half 50% of 1 month's rent. It says a flat 2,000.
2,000.
Well, guess what?
It's 2,000.
That's good. You're getting 2,000. Not half of 3,200 would only be 1,700.
Right.
So you're
Okay.
getting more than that.
Okay.
Good job.
Okay.
Yes, that's true. That's true. So that's what you're getting. Mhm.
Leobel, can you go over again about the first month of deposit? It was confusing for me. I didn't get it.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so let's say you have a tenant client that the tenant is moving November the 20th, okay, in 2 days. So by the time you sign, they already pay the security deposit and the pet deposit if they have pets. By November the 20th, the first month of rent is due. So let's say the house is $2,000. So they should give you a cashier check for $2,000 payable to the order of Keller Williams Premier. And that $2,000, what they are actually paying is the month of December. That $2,000 will pay you and will pay the tenant's agent. What's going to happen December 1st is you're going to prorate from November 20th to the 30th. Those are 10 days. So you take the 2,000 divided between 30 days and you multiply by 10 days. So they should pay the landlord those 10 remaining days from November that they will be living in the house. They will pay that to the landlord directly on December 1st. Did I explain it correctly? I wish I could have a baseboard, a blackboard.
Yeah, thank you.
And that will be in the lease also saying that the prorated rent, which happens to be $667, will be due payable on December 1.
Exactly. And that day, and that will go directly to the landlord.
Yes.
Yeah. But the full first month of rent, you're getting it the day they move in.
Yes.
to get the keys. You get the check and you give them the keys.
So if I understand you correctly, it feels to the landlord, it feels like they just turned over their security deposit to you.
But they've already got their security deposit.
Yes. Yes, the security.
When they sign the lease, they know they're going to lose. They're going to give 1 full month's rent to pay for the commissions. So they know that ahead of time. They're getting the security deposit whenever they accept that tenant as a cashier's check or however they get it. So they've gotten that money. They've gotten their pet deposit if there is one. Then on the day of moving in, Keller Williams gets paid, the agents get paid. And then the next month, yes, they'll have to wait till the first of the next month to get their first rental payment.
Exactly. But it's good to go over the process with your landlord client when you have the consultation, when you're getting the listing, so they know what to expect.
I would love to see a breakdown with some numbers on it for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that if I have a, like if we were in the training room, but yeah, but I could definitely, and we can have a call if you want to, and just, you know, do some math problems together.
Yeah, just to describe what that tenant is paying out, because it now feels like the tenant's paying out a whole lot of money, and maybe they are.
And let me tell you, that's one thing during the tenant consultation, because it had happened to me that if they have good credit score, if they're not brand new in the city, if they know they want to be living here, that's when you can convert those tenants clients that they call you because they want to rent, and you can convert those to a buyer client, because at the end sometimes they bring less money. It happened to me. We closed a deal in February. They called me for a lease, and when I explained them the whole situation, they were looking for a house with $2,000. So I told them, okay, you should have $4,000, because it's going to be, you don't have pets, it's a $2,000 security deposit, plus the first month of rent is a $4,000. And when I did the whole credit score thing, and I went over them, and they had great credit score, and I said, you know what, will you be willing to talk with a lender in order to qualify you for a house? And they were like, okay, wait, Leobel, we maybe have $3,000-4,000, but we don't have enough money to buy a house. So I told them about the down payment assistance programs, and I sent them 3 lenders that offer the down payment assistance program. And this is real numbers, guys. They bought a house, and all they needed was $2,500. We close in February. That's a true story. And they call me because they want to rent. And all they needed was that. They used the down payment assistance program, and with $2,500, the builder helped them with closing cost, and they got a brand new house with washer, dryer, refrigerator.
Yay. Go
Yeah.
live.
So that's your point. It's great. You know, there's a lot of people that you have to run the numbers. They need money to rent a house. They need money.
Right. Because I'm looking at a $2,000 a month rent and a $500 pet deposit. They got to bring $4,560 to the table.
You bet.
That's before the application fees for them and all their adult children.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so so we went through the deposits and payments, the commission, and another great point is the repair, that it's going to be on the lease. You have to ask your landlord client, how are they going to handle the repairs? If it's going to be their phone number, that it's going to be on the lease agreement, where should the tenant be calling when the repairs shows up? And how are they going to handle the repairs? If they are going to use, for example, when I represent landlords, I normally talk about the home warranties, because it helps a lot to handle the repairs. So they buy a home warranty, and they go through the home warranty. The tenant call the home warranty first. So that's a great option for them. And you can, you could be the expert and bring some brochures or send it to them, the PDF, and they pick a home warranty, and it helps them with the repairs. I would like to bring the diplomatic clause, because we see that a lot here. So sometimes with the companies have their expats bring into the Houston area, I've seen this a lot. So they normally comes with a diplomatic clause. Have you seen it, Karen?
Yes.
Often?
Yes.
So it's very common. What it says is, like, in case the company it's relocating them before the lease expire, they want to protect the employer, saying they don't have to finish with the lease, with the total lease, but they have to give notice at least 60 days in advance, and the tenant should provide evidence that the company it's relocating them. Okay, so it's very
understand. Everybody understands that. If you're going to have to move for your job, we shouldn't be penalized for that happening to you. And so it's great for everybody. And then also you probably have in the lease that you can put the house back up on the market for lease the last 30 or 60 days, whichever's on there. So the lockbox can go back on and release the house.
Exactly. Great point. Great point. Yeah, so that's why I include the diplomatic clause here. And the other thing that you should be doing is sending them the inventory form, the moving condition form.
I'll show it to you.
I don't send it. I didn't send it to you, Karen, but
I've got it. I've got it. Hang on. Let me pull it up. Where is it? Here it is.
That's the one. So, and that's in the lease. It says that they will have X amount of day. It's normally between 7 and 10 days. That's what I have seen. That they have to get this form filled out and get back to the landlord. And this is not a list of repair requests. This is just to let the landlord know this is the condition that I'm receiving all this the items in the house. And if I'm representing the tenant, I normally ask them to accompany this with pictures.
For sure.
Okay. So, and make sure the landlords send you as receipt. Any questions so far?
Make sure you let them know how important this is, especially when they think about what's going to happen at the end of the lease and your security deposit. If you did not give this or fill it out correctly or fully, and okay, say on the patio door here, the doorknob and lock was working, and then all of a sudden it isn't. If you didn't say it wasn't working here and it got broken in the midst of the year, well, guess where it's going to come from? Your security deposit. So make sure they fill it out correctly and get it to the landlord with those pictures so that they have proof of the condition of the house when they moved in.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Karen.
And I know they're busy. It takes some time to do. It really does. But it sure is well worth the effort.
Yes, ma'am. And there's a question that I normally get about the keys. So what I normally advise the landlords is try to meet your tenant as soon as possible. So if for any reason they are not available and the tenant has to pick up the keys, if I'm the listing agent, if they have to go to the office and I have to give them the keys or I'm meeting with them to get the check. But I normally, I suggest my clients just, establish a good relationship with your tenants. And same thing when I'm representing the tenants, because, you depend, it should be a strong relationship, a very nice one.
For sure.
Any questions?
Talking to them a lot.
Exactly.
In that year.
They're even scared from some tenants. They avoid to meet the landlord, and then when they need a repair, they haven't met them. So it's better to know them as soon as possible. There we go. And with the utilities, pretty much the same with the house. If you're representing the tenants, make sure they set the utilities by the day they move in. Okay, they should have everything ready. Am I missing something, Karen? That
I can't think of anything. Anybody else that's done leases? You did a phenomenal job, Leah Bell.
I have a question.
Going over everything. Smart move makes sense to me now because see, I've never done one. So I haven't gotten in there and played with it because I'm not going to set up an account. So your explanation was phenomenal on how to do that and how easy that makes it. And yes, Ann, you picking up the fact of, hey folks, if you're going to rent a $2,500 a month house, let's look at something that maybe you can buy instead of lease, depending upon if they can qualify for a loan. Of course, we know that's going to be for anything. So yeah, makes a big difference. Tom,
And
please.
material that I normally refer them, it's there is a landlord and tenant guidelines that it was by the Texas A&M Real Estate Department. I think it's great. I don't know if it's in our documents, in our market center documents.
I have it pulled up also. Folks, I've got your names on a list. I will send you the PowerPoint plus all the other documents that we use today. And the landlord tenant criteria is one of them I pulled up.
Okay, good. Good. And that guideline, that helps a lot, especially the first time landlords.
We're still here. Let me show it to you real quick. Where is it? Oh, that's not it. Notice it. That's not it. Uh-huh. Well, maybe I didn't pull it up. I will make sure I do. My bad.
It's okay.
I
Well,
thought it had it
I
too.
want to thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Yes, it was wonderful. We thank you for staying
Can I ask
late.
you a question before you go liable?
He has a question?
Yes, Nazar.
Yeah. You know, in selling and buying houses, we have the intermediary option. Do we have this in rent?
Yes, same thing.
So we can represent both?
And it's very common. I have closed maybe 7 or 8. Yes, because a lot of people call you for the yard sign when you are the listing agent for the lease, and they don't have an agent because at the beginning I was telling you that a lot of agents, they don't like to work with tenants. So the tenant already knows and they call the listing agent and you show them the house and they end up being your client. Mm-hmm.
It is a whole lot easier to do both sides on a lease than on a house. There's not as much negotiations. You know, a reduction in rent is probably, if anything, $50 might be all you negotiate down, but it's totally different than a house. You know what the landlord, if you're the listing agent, you know exactly what they want and where and how and all that. You tell that to the tenant, they agree. You've got the documentation, you know it's done right because you've got it from your landlord. It really works very well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we leave?
Hey, real quick, you said forms of payment for the security deposit is cashier's check as well?
Yes, it could be cashier check. It could be electronic payment, especially after COVID. I have a lot of clients that they rather do Zelle, and the security deposit could be sent via Zelle. Yes, directly to the landlord.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they've got a spot to put electronic payment, and then you'll have to just give, or maybe even let the tenant and the landlord give the account and how the, you know, the link or whatever to Zelle or whichever one you use.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
All right, let me see if we got any other questions, and just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're a rock star, Leah Bell. Woo-hoo!
So kind. Enjoy. And you know, I'm always here for you guys. Take care, stay healthy.
Appreciate it. You too, same to everyone.
Thank you.
Watch
Bye,
your film, I'll be sending out the stuff.
Thank